Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. Today we have a new story and we have an amazing storyteller. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Anna, to Urbanistica podcast. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, though it's soon spring and it's snowing outside and it's Monday, but I'm really happy to be here. So it's a good day after all.
Yeah. No, I see the snow outdoor. Like I was hoping that you will be here and you're here, so I'm
bringing the sun.
Yeah. I guess you have less things to do now compared to the previous 4 years, right?
Yes. Now I actually can,
Speak.
Yes. Book my own meetings.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Do some traveling.
Yeah. So I will tell a small story for you and for the listeners. Maybe you don't know about this, but when you were elected, like your first year, you were at the Gather Festival delivering like a speech.
Okay.
About like cities and Stockholm's city and so on. And I couldn't afford the ticket because it was too expensive for me. Like that time I was a student. So I just volunteered for the entire event just to stand there to listen to you.
Oh my. I had no idea.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I hope I didn't disappoint you doing all that.
No, it was really good. So I was like welcoming people.
Okay.
So my smile and eyes with facing people, but my ears with you because you were on the stage. Because that time I started the podcast.
Nicest thing I ever heard. That was thank you. And then you started this amazing podcast. Yeah. But urban.
Yeah. So I'm happy to finally. No, thanks for being here. So let's start with you. You're our storyteller. How would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
So I'm the former mayor of Stockholm.
Yeah.
And I am I'm going to be 45 years old. I have 3 boys at home. I come from Uppsala, but I moved to Stockholm. And I studied economics and law at the university in Uppsala. And then I came here around 2000. And I just love this city. I say that Stockholm is the smallest city I can live in.
Oh.
Like, I need big cities.
Yeah.
I love them. And perhaps one thing you don't know about me is that I also done the Bloomberg Philanthropy Leadership Network with other mayors around the world. And
Amazing.
we have discussed how to lead a city, learn from other cases. And Bloomberg himself was very active.
Wow.
And it was also Harvard teachers doing these special cases about city leadership. So I did that for a year. And that brought me also friends all over the world.
I can imagine. I can imagine. So how did you start like your journey within politics, like your interest and so on?
So I've always been engaged in different topics or, different causes. And very early I had like in school, I had, that people could sign for different causes like animal rights or, I was phoning into the local radio channel or, doing interviews in the media before I went into the politics. So it was, my parents were not so surprised that I did. And eventually, and it was actually, for me, it was the question about that pupil or students should be able to choose schools. Because before then, it was just the politicians or where you were living. And for me, that was kind of, but I can't I need also the freedom to actually choose what kind of school I would like to go. And I was really interested in music then. So I would like to have that kind of school that with more music than other schools. And I couldn't do that because I was based in a certain area.
And you have to be in that school in that specific area, no matter what is your passion about.
So today many people are questioning the school system, but I think it's the power in the students. At least you have the possibility to choose different alternatives, and I think that is great.
And that's how you start, and then gradually upgrading.
Yes, and then it was youth politics, and I was in the board for the national board for our party and an international secretaries. Already then I was started engaged in international questions or topics and networks. And then I went into parliament when I was very young, 27.
And now when you're telling me about your age, you're still super, super young for being a mayor, when the previous 4 years, right? So it should be also a challenge because you were young. Maybe how they look at you she's still young, she can't do so much or talk about so much, right?
I think mostly I've got positive reactions when I was at an international scene because I really appreciated women. They have a lack of women, so I was always feeling welcome, and they were interesting. How did you succeed? And good for Sweden to have, a woman and a young woman. Sometimes I had more difficulties at home, and so within my own party, sometimes even.
How was your reaction when they told you, okay, Anna, now it's your time, it's your turn to be a mayor of Stockholm? It's super big. How did you receive this news?
When you're in an election period, it's you go around and you have these campaigns, you talk to citizens, but then it's now it's for real. Now it's you have to start delivering from day one. It's it's a budget and you need to set it and you have to negotiate as well with the different parties. So it was I had just a clear plan that okay, now it's leadership time, it's action. So I was quite but I was ready because I've been into the city hall for 10 years. I've been a deputy mayor, so it wasn't new.
Exactly, to me. You're used to this kind of task and position and leadership.
I think it was a more big step to go from the parliament and work with legislation and go to deputy mayor in charge of social affairs. Especially then, I'm being a very young deputy that had social services. I wasn't, a social worker from the beginning, so that was a challenge. But then I decided to really study the law, the regulations, so I would understand and really, talk the language that the social workers did and know every kind of term. But I did it, and I thought that was very challenging. This is how you develop. I think.
Job. So is it fun to be a mayor just as how we see it or imagine it? You can do whatever you want, you travel a lot, you meet super famous people, like this? Or how is it behind the scenes? How is the life being a mayor?
Oh, it's of course it's quite, intense. And what you see when you meet these famous people or high-level politicians, that's one part of the job that is really exciting because they are very inspiring, of course, and they also achieved a lot. You can learn from them or create new collaboration. So I think that that's also where you get energy and inspiration. So the international part was a very crucial part of my journey because I learned so much through others and was inspired they could do this in their city. Why don't we bring it to Stockholm? But of course, it's also reading a lot. It always felt like I was at the university because I really needed to know, the facts. And I wanted not just 2 slides. I wanted,
to dig deep in the reports and so on.
Exactly. So I could understand, and I was really deep into the knowledge of the topics I was talking about. So it's a lot of hard work. Often, the weekends, I prepared was supposed to come the week after. And the evenings. It was always you delivered sometimes a good speech, and then okay, now it's tomorrow. It's a new day, and you will be measured on that speech. Kind of.
It's did you feel that it was a stressful life?
Sometimes, yeah, of course.
When
you think that, when you feel that you don't really have the possibility to balance your private life, and you miss out many things in school, you miss out a lot when it comes to the children.
Yeah, you have 3 children also.
Yeah, you can't come when they have Lucia, or you can't come when they have like special parental day and so on. And then,
we talked about your passion, like that you care about like people's freedom and so on, the right to choose. Can you develop that more, like elaborate more? Like, what are you passionate about?
I am passionate about making change for the citizens, and that's the citizens centered politics. That okay, it's a reform. You can talk about different measures for your city, about infrastructure or a smart city, but in the end, it's actually the public value that you create for your citizens. And you always, sometimes, they are forgotten in the debate or in the communication. And I think that is always a reminder, especially I was leading the city during the pandemic. And sometimes it was also figures and numbers, but in the end, it was actually, people. Yeah. So I was always trying to bring that perspective. But to meet other entrepreneurs really gives me both energy, inspirations, but also researchers, people like you know your area very well. People who have ideas, like creative people. It could be artists, it could be architects, but people are like, do you know, I've been thinking about to solve one problem like this. What do you think? And to be very futuristic, like look in see the possibilities. That's where I get inspiration from and motivation.
From people to work for people.
Yes, definitely.
And during your 4 years of being a mayor of Stockholm, became a smart city. Like we won like an award and so on. Can you tell us like what is a smart city and what did you do in Stockholm to create this ecosystem?
Yes, I know that I was actually working with Kiev City in the beginning of this year because they are setting up their smart city digital strategy. And they've been asking around and talking to so many cities around the world, and they just have this amazing plan with it, like we'll introduce. But there they always also have like a discussion about what is a smart city. Should you define it as urban intelligence? And what is a smart city? But often it's like you can improve the effectiveness of your services to the citizens through digitalization or to the fourth industrial revolution, if you say. But it's to make more efficient system with public infrastructure, for example, or services to the citizens. And but also to have like digital solutions to the citizens' problems. And I think, of course, everything is going to be digital. So you need like both, it's reskilling all the stuff that works within the city. That's one thing. And it's really important challenge because a lot of, for example, teachers don't know the technology behind programming or coding. So we need to work with the academia, for example, to meet the pupil, the young next generation in schools. But also, of course, if you work with elderly, how do you cope with the sensors that probably will be scaled up within the elderly care? So you really need to work on that, reskilling, but also to work with the real-time data and also the feedback loop. So you really interact with your citizens all the time. So it's not just sending out a questionnaire like once a year. And like, okay, we have good qualities in our, you know, because you will have to be very interactive, adjust. If you see something, be more proactive so you can fix it. Even though it could be everything from, the services to the people to like eye water that we have with sensors that can immediately see if it's any bacteria in the water or leakages, and they can also report. So it's actually using the data to be more proactive to get a more, a better life quality for the citizens.
And how did you do it in Stockholm City? Like, was the city who initiated this kind of let's build an ecosystem for a smart city, or how was like? Tell us more about the infrastructure.
Yeah, so we had set up a strategy, quality strategy, but also innovation strategy that we said, okay, it's actually not us defining what quality is. It's actually the citizens, and every department within the city are responsible for their own innovation. It's not like we have an innovation department, they innovate. So it's like we really bring the ideas of the staff, of the people working for the city on board, but also co-working, of course, with the citizens. So they can also be co-creators of the city. Yes, that's the word. But we set up, for one example, is that we set up a sensible lab with MIT and KTH and the city, where we said, okay, we have these challenges. It could be climate. And we used sensors on podcasts. And they could also measure kind of where in the city where we will be most effective by heat waves in the upcoming 10 years. So we can actually know, like, where should we have more green areas, where should we focus on, but also the quality, air quality and so on. So instead of just measuring at some streets, you can actually monitor and measuring it all the time. That's another example how we worked with the lab to find better solutions.
And your role as a mayor, how much are you, let's say, active within this kind, like, quality strategy, smart city? What was your impact on this?
I think that many would say I was very interested, and
which is great to start with.
I was engaged in a meeting with the lab. I was sitting there. I was sitting with the meetings with KTH and talking, like, how could we scale up this innovation and how could we more like a systematic approach. When I came to the city, often it's like you want this lighthouse project. You know, you have this district that you want to showcase, or you have
like
this
a
house.
focus area.
And I think that's the next thing already coming international is that they are looking for not only like one single lighthouse project. They want to see solutions that are holistic, that are systematic, that are connected to each other. If you talk to hydrogen, how are they connected to, wastewater management, with cars, mobility services? How is the mobility connecting? Like a lot, mobility as a service, not only. So it's so many areas, but how to connect them all? That's what's interesting. And you have to do it immediately. It's not like this was super expensive, really difficult. I mean, okay, every city could showcase that.
True.
That could be like a learning thing. But now it's like how to get from this idea to scalable solution from day one almost, because we don't have time. If you look for the
we're already
IPCC
like
report.
late. And like how many questions related to urban planning and design you were working with?
I was very engaged in some, for example, Kista. Because the real estate owners, they said, like, we have 20% vacancy. So that's a huge problem. We have problem with people, talents not wanting to move to Kista because it's perceived as unsafe. So we worked with these issues, and I brought in MIT, and they also worked with Google Maps and artificial intelligence to see, like, okay, what kind of places feels like unsafe, and what can we do about it, and perceived as unsafe and safe. But also we work with the property owners to open up the closed street, the areas where it's just closest to the streets, because they were, you can open up with shops, restaurants, and have also visitors at night or weekends, because now it's like people go there for work and then they go home. So we really need to work with Kista, and then we established Kista 5.0. And that's just one example how we set up, like, we want this to be the leading ICT cluster. We want to welcome talents here. We want people to want to work here and live here. So we have to change this, and it's possible. We're not giving up. We just have to reframe what Kista is. Just one example, but of course we have many others. I had a dream about Loudden, for example, that would be the first area with all the 17 SDG goals within itself. That would be just wonderful to have this kind of ambition that this is the place where we're going to show that it's not only about climate, it's also about social inclusiveness and so on. So,
but how does it work? Like, let's say, do you have the final decision, or do you, let's say, you have a dream, as you mentioned? If you take us through the process, because sometimes we imagine like, okay, why, like, let's say Anna, the mayor, she cannot just fix the mobility issue here. So how does it work? If you can tell me and tell people listening to you.
So, for example, what I did with Kista was that I brought, because I had the power not to change everything, of course, but I had the power to bring people to the table through my position.
Okay.
And I use that a lot. Like I really believe in the multi-stakeholders.
Of course.
Like governance.
Yeah.
So what I did is that I invited all that, like it was the police, it was the gallery owner, it was the property owners, it was everything, like the local districts. And then I said, okay, but we have a mutual challenge here, problem.
Yeah.
So what should we do about it? And no one could, like, it's not my problem. It's not my. So everyone is like had to work together, co-create solutions. And actually that became working groups. And then the property owners also decided to step in with the Kista 5.0. Just one example, but I did it in so many areas where I brought all the stakeholders together.
Yeah.
Sometimes one stakeholder doesn't show up, okay, but we start, and I'm confident they will in the end.
So basically, like, it's not like you say something like, I want this to be solved, and then the government or the working group should fix it immediately.
Of course, I mean, I can't be in micromanagement, but I can set up like initiatives.
Yeah.
And I can show, like, I'm really interested in it, because you have to prioritize a few, like
focus area.
Focus areas. And then you have to follow them to show engagement all the time.
Yeah.
So you have to still ask, like, how is the electrification pacts going? Kind of, how is the investment in charging infrastructure looks? So because of you asking those questions, they know that this is what the mayor or, the ruling party really wants.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then of course they often like listen, and it's in the budget. What's in the budget is also becoming a reality. So it's important that you write it in the budget. But I would say that it's not a single mayor. It's the force of other people doing the job, but also believing that this will turn out to be a really positive impact.
So like from doing the budget and so on, I know there are so many different focus areas like health and care, education and so on. But let's take like, again, urban planning and design, where like a lot of focus going to this kind of topics or projects, or no?
Yeah, it was also the pandemic when I was a mayor. So of course we had, that was a challenge of prioritization. But one thing that I focused on was to have this multifunctional way of looking at buildings, or, that a building could be, have many functions. It could, a school restaurant, daytime could be another restaurant at night, or, open up the sport facilities in school to other sport associations and so on.
So like the multi-use,
and to see that also, it's a building with properties that have shops or commercial, that it could actually be housing or apartments. So you can have this flexibility. I think that is, after the pandemic, is even more important. And the short-term contracts, okay, it's empty now because the shop owners closed down and everything is transforming. But okay, let's make it possible with short-term contracts and make it more like a pop-up, an exhibition, and bring in the artists, make it more creative. See that could also attract. If we're going to develop the 15-minute city, which I think is a positive thing,
of course,
but let's also make people from different background meets in the city core, through like experience, through creative moments,
exactly.
If you say, like.
And do you have like a specific teamwork specialist in design and urban planning and city development?
Yes, of course, we had different departments, and also specific mayor in charge of that, a deputy mayor. But I was working really close to Carlo Ratti from the MIT.
Yeah,
he's also
amazing.
an architect. Yeah,
I spoke to him also. He's a genius.
He's a genius, and you get so inspired. Like,
That's
and
true.
also Maimona from UN Habitat. She used to be a city planner. Now she works with UN Habitat, and we also had a conference in Stockholm under my leadership, where we said, okay, let's launch the 50-minute city as a sustainable alternative for cities around. And so Green City Council was also, giving its support for that.
I feel like you're an urban planner, part of this, part of our team as well.
But I think it's really like grown on me, working with the World Economic Forum to see the possibilities, what you can do if you really plan your city for the people.
Exactly. So, like, what are the challenges that you face as a mayor?
First of all, it was the pandemic, of course. So suddenly people were not supposed to move or meet. So we had, of course, the health perspective. That was number one, to save lives. You have to also do the priorities. Like, this is the single most important, save lives. The other thing was that we noticed also that the city was transforming, if you see it as a planning perspective. People wanted to be more outside in the green areas. So the nature was more important than ever. We also did, after that, the biggest exhibition of art outdoors.
Outdoor,
yes, that the city had. We were talking about, could we do sea pools? Could we do water facilities outside for people? So actually, citizens were just, amazed what attractive city it was if you were not just inside.
True.
And we were talking about transforming the city to an all-year city. So not only like an attractive summer city, and that's what we had. Restaurants, they could open when they had possibility to be open. They could also have cafes outdoors, and that we kept because it was so popular. Even though we was freezing outside, people were still like outside, and they just love it. And we talked about like, how can we really, when I had small children, I went to this playgrounds. And it's always was sign like, the city don't take care of this during wintertime. So it would know like accessibility to this. And I was like, question this, like, why only summertime? I mean, of course, we need to go out also wintertime.
Especially here in Sweden.
Exactly. So what we did in the budget, we're starting also to take care of the places for children also wintertime. We had, the sports, the soccer fields. We did tents over them in the budget so the children could play soccer or football also wintertime. So a lot of this kind of to see how can we still, what's missing. So for me, it was also about sustainable tourism, because we've seen what's happened in Barcelona and other cities and like Amsterdam, where Venice, where the citizen turns against their tourists. And it's a short period that the Swedish summer are taking place. So then we need to talk about sustainable tourism. And I think a part of that is also to do a winter destination. And now after this, in Gröna Lund, you can see so many other facilities doing winter tourism.
So activities and opening the city, especially during COVID, was a big challenge for you. What other challenge like you face as Anna and being a mayor?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was actually leadership. I felt many times that, this is the time to step up, to lead. And someone is to have to take decisions, because sometimes the authorities had different messages. Or, it was unclear, the recommendation. And sometimes like, we had to sort everything out. So we were just like, okay, we need to have more equipment, safety equipment. We need to we have to see that, okay, you can't visit your elderly now because the figure is going really bad. And difficult decisions, but we had to do it. And we also communicated every week with the citizen through the media, through press releases or press conferences. And some other, municipalities around Sweden, they just sent out their civil servants. And were not so accessible as we were. But it was a decision that we should front the media every week.
Every week?
Every week. Cool. So we could, ask be asked whatever question that needed to be asked to inform what's going on.
And Anna, how is your leadership style? Like, how are you being a leader? Are you like bold? How to say? Because now, like, I see you're friendly, we are laughing with smiles and so on, but sometimes like things getting super serious and you have to make a decision. So how are you as a leader? Can you tell us?
I don't have any problems like taking decisions during like chaos and when it's like during the pandemic. And sometimes I said to my colleagues, okay, this will be very controversial. But just, I will take all the criticism and I will take all the answers. But we need to do this, and I'm certain this is the right way. But I'm the one behind the decision. And that's, for me, is to show leadership. Like some perhaps didn't really agree or just had question, is this the right way? But it's like we can't, we need to take decisions now. And I think this is the right way. And then I stood up for it. But I also said, like, if you don't have to front this, if you don't believe in it fully.
That's true also.
But another is like, I like to have people on board and to create the vision. Kind of, this is actually, we're doing this because we want to reach here. The public values. It could be clean air, clean water, better health. Walkable cities, whatever, like to showcase the possibilities. And then for this to happen, we need to do this and this. And it could be hurtful. Sometimes I said, after the Glasgow meeting, I was in radio saying, it's going to be sacrifices. You can't just keep on doing exactly what we've been doing. It's how we drive, how we eat. It's a lot of different areas. And for me, that is leadership. Leadership is not knowing what we know today and say, okay, keep on as usual. You don't have to do any changes. I believe in, the power of the people, and I'm a liberal. So of course, the power when you consume to choose different things, of course, you have a huge power. And a city, you have procurement power that we should talk much more about. Like you can really use that power to also to nudge or to buy, procure the best alternative for climate, for example. So you should use that power and then say like, okay, it's going to be hurtful. Look at what happened in Barcelona with the super blocks. There was so much criticism. It was like the shops will die in the city center. You don't take away our possibility to drive everywhere, to have our cars, parking lots all over the city. And actually it was the people who criticized the most who actually voted for Ada Colau later. So you can see that you have to just be certain that some of the transformation is always hurtful, but you have to like be calm and know that it's going to be good, positive in the end.
Trust the process as well.
And like, okay, you're going to be part of this. So invite the citizens to be a part of it. Don't like, this is something that goes on over your head. Like, come on, be on board. We're going to transform and you're going to see this positive effects. On the water, in the air, and so on.
But sometimes, like we see cities not involving people in making like a decision and so on. Why you think it sometimes happens like this, and how was the case in Stockholm? Did you always invite people to everything, or how was the system?
No, of course. I mean, a lot of time it fails. It could be like the citizens read in the newspaper that some change is going to happen. And they are like, what is this? Why haven't we been invited to give, our, if we're going to be opinion, positive, negative. So that's often like, you really need to work with citizens engagement and it's samråd. If you put it in summertime, like 2 weeks in July, of course you will have also very angry citizens if like they understand that something's going to be built that is quite controversial. So I think that like, see it as a possibility to get their ideas. A lot of property owners today, real estate agents, they work with the citizens. They ask questions like, what is this place identity? So how are we going to build on that? What service do you need? So it's natural for them. So I just think that the city needs to be more interactive.
Like and more open also.
Yes. And one thing I did, I mean, I don't say it's still not perfect. So this is really a challenge all the time to see how can we have this connection. But one thing we did was that we invited the children in school to come up with good ideas for a sustainable city through Minecraft. Because my theory was like, okay, we have this youth council that we always, invite, but it's the same kind of young people, very active, very articulate. I was a chair of Uppsala Ungdomsråd once or youth council back in the day, so I know exactly, like they have different political background, but still it's kind of the same persons. So I said, why don't we invite people in the platform that they are, the next generation? Sometimes, I mean, we just invite young people. It looks a little bit good. They can ask questions in a youth council, but they are not really like engaged. So what we did is that we invited the schools, and they could also create solutions in Minecraft, building like a sustainable innovation. And then we showcased it for Minecraft, but also for other mayors around Europe. And now London is scaling up, so they're building London with in Minecraft. We did it, and just to see that this 1 billion users. It could be other games as well, but of course this is a platform where they are. Why don't we be where the young people are? Not trying like come to us the old-fashioned way, like we have a samråd, come to us. Because we need just to think a little bit modern in our way of discussing and bringing the citizens on board.
It's like a mutual, it's a relationship between the city and the citizens. We always say like the city should reach out to the citizens, be there, talk with them and so on. But from your opinion, what should citizens do? Like how could they be more engaged from their side?
I think that it's a city's responsibility.
Exactly.
But you can also invite them in different ways. I love the case when I was in Boston, and the city of Boston have this kind of lab within the city, and then the traffic department were working with the citizens. And one thing, they had so many different confusing traffic signs, so the citizens like didn't understand, and also got a fee, like if parking fee. So they did like signs, like we are trying out new traffic signs from the city department. Do you love these? Do you hate this? Please let us know. And then the citizens could actually react like, okay, we think this sign is a little bit confusing still, or this sign is really good. So what we were trying to do is that we, for example, invited the citizens to react when there was digging, because that's one of the most frustrating things for citizens. If you just see like, oh, the street is blocked and someone is supposed to dig, no one is there. You don't understand, what is this? Everything like this is another bicycle lane. Well, but perhaps it's like you need a better system for the grid. It's actually new energy.
Pipes or network.
Exactly. Or the city needs to dig for many causes, and then it could be like, we're actually doing this. It's going to be in time, and this is the deadline. But if you think that no one is there or it's taking too long time, please let us know. So actually you invite the citizens. Just one example. It could be as well for parks, or this is a bench not functioning, old, it would be repaint or so it's Tyck till-appen, but in a even more sophisticated way. But I think Tyck till-appen is a way of communicating, but I think we can develop it even more.
So like we have listeners from 140 countries listening to you. So
I'm sorry about the Tyck till-appen but it's like an interaction app.
It's like the application from the city, so the citizens can report different ideas or problems in the city. So what should we as urban planners stop doing or do when we plan cities?
I think that one thing just to be like reminded of is not to build district or areas for today's technique. For example, I mentioned Loudden, that is truly like one of the most attractive places left in our city, in a central area close to the water to develop. And I saw an article where the city planners were like, no, we can't have housing here or apartments because of the noise pollution from the ferries. It's like, yeah, but that's today. But what's going to happen now when we have electric vehicles, also boats, ferries, cruises? So it's all going to change in like 10, 15 years. So it's going to not be noise pollution.
Yeah.
So we can't plan for multifunctional buildings. So it could easily transformed to housing. So I just think like be cautious when you plan, so you don't like think that it's going to go so quick today. We're going to see mobility as a service. So don't just plan for one sort of, buses or cars, because it's everything going to be like you buy into a service fee, and then you're going to have access. And for me, perhaps it's the most with carbon footprints, or it could be calories for some, or it actually could be, how much time will this travel take?
Or money cost.
Money.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different kind of parameters. But
so this is one thing we should really stop do that planning business as usual and stick to what is now. We should really think about the future cities.
Yeah, and make them flexible from the beginning. Architects today can actually plan and draw buildings that are flexible, that could easily be transformed from offices to housing. Do that. Like make the be like transformative. I'm not saying that we will have all the answers how the technique. I just want us to be able to adjust in an easy way.
What skills or skill that we should develop or learn as a planners planning the city?
I think it's really important now when it goes so quick or fast that you have this international perspective, that you learn from other cities. Because I think that you can learn so much. Like this is happening on the infrastructure side, or this is actually happening on the energy side, or they made fantastic buildings with parks and roofs. So it's so many different kind of. Also, when it comes to sustainable materials, where the solar panels are in windows, everything this is coming. But just to have this open mind and read the World Economic Forum's reports. No, but we have look at other cities and compare and be curious about what's out there, and go together and procure the best material and reuse the material and have this circular. I know that everyone is having that in mind, but we know also that
there is more.
Yes,
to learn and to bring.
And to see the cities as urban miners, not like consumers. It's gonna be great that we have this circular system that we buy from each other.
Exactly.
Produce in our city.
So before we move to the next section of this episode, which is more about you as well. So if you, like many citizens, listening to you and also trying to be a smart city as well. So what are, like, let's say, the 3 elements or success that made Stockholm become a smart city? Like, what should they really think about in order to make their city smart as well?
Of course, Stockholm with the black fiber, that we have the high-speed broadband to everyone. I mean, that is, it's world class if you look at the connection of internet. So, of course, that has made a huge challenge, a possibility. But also, of course, I think we're quite small still, and we have this collaborative environment where we learn from each other. We have good universities where we could also, use the academia, as well as, bring the academia, the business, and the public together, and co-create, and to have mutual labs or different project where you can actually work together, to try things, and invite the citizens as well. Because it's always like a smart city is just smart because of its citizens. It's going to be, it's going to be accessible. They need to think that this is not difficult, complex, and it's actually bring values. Otherwise, it will not use the smart system.
So the infrastructure for the fiber internet, the collaboration between different actors, and bring the citizens. Like these are like the 3
citizen-centered policies. I would say.
Cool. So next section about you. So what makes you happy in your city?
Oh, it's a lot, but of course, when I see, the clean water, the really cool new galleries and places for um, culture, and I like the balance between nature and urban environment. I really like that, and just it's a really walkable city. 8 out of 10. Journeys is at foot.
Cool.
So it's really a walkable, nice city.
Yeah. What makes you sad in Stockholm?
I think that it's littering, or you just feel that places where it feels like it's abandoned, that they don't really like empty facilities, like you don't really care, or you just left. So that's kind of signals. I really believe in the placemaking, and to bring. I mean, it's empty places are unsafe, so you really make them vibrant with a lot of people with different backgrounds coming together. And I think that it is important to have a strategy coming years. Okay, we will have the 15-minute cities around our city where people could shop. They could the hybrid work. They could work from home or from in the area. They will have access to all these good schools, but in the end people also need to meet, and I think that it is the culture, the entertainment. So let the city be that kind of vibrant place for that, for entertainment.
I love now when you mention a placemaking, you have a huge placemaking community listening.
Ah, great.
So they will be happy
I worked so much with that, inspired by the New York. And with the summer streets.
Exactly.
Yeah. And after that, we did the winter streets as well. And the children's street, you brought in the children as well. And actually 70% were positive afterwards, where they could have skate parks and so on during the summertime. So it was actually, when people leaving the city, you have to remember some children are still there. And it's going to be a good place for them as well.
True. So what, 100 years from now, what would you love that people say about you or read about you when they read your name or hear your name?
Honest, I don't think that they will remember my name, but I mean, if it's going to be a book about the city or my turn, I think that it will say that I took Stockholm to the international scene, that I brought the networks, that Stockholm really moved from being, the capital of Scandinavia to a city that really, took place in some of the most important boards. At C40, the Climate Network, at World Economic Forum, at Eurocity, that we actually leveraged our voice and that we made impact, and that they listened to us when it comes to sustainability, equality, and so on.
Cool. And tell me and tell the listeners two things. First one, something you did and you're very proud of, and something you did you regret doing that.
Or regret I didn't do. No, I mean, I'm very proud of the electrification pact that we started. That's still going. It was my baby, but it was in the beginning. But to electrify all transport and
the
say
public
that
transport,
the public, and also. But because we're not in charge of public transport, but the heavy to say that we will have charging infrastructure in all the city until 2030, and then only procure electric after 2030. So that was something
you started this movement, let's say, or
and we said we will not procure anything else but electric 2030. That was before the EU. Now it's of course you will not. But when we did, it was quite but you still need the infrastructure. And some would say, oh, it's impossible, it's too expensive. We're gonna do this. And I also think of you can have it as a service. We will change our perspective of how we see the car, from something we own to a service that we can use when we need. But that's a different kind of story. And I'm also very proud of the children's house I did when I was mayor in charge of social affairs. where all the children that was abused could come. And it was different stakeholders already then, with the police and the prosecutors and healthcare psychologists and so
That's
on.
beautiful.
So, yeah, social service. But I think that when we really transformed, to be talking about more about the values of walkable city, greener city, the quay shore, near the water, where it used to be only like parking lots, that we like transformed as well, that people could move, that we could have restaurant there, and some of this area were closed to citizens, and then we just started
make it more accessible.
Yeah.
So, and one thing you did, but you regret now doing it.
I mean, of course, it's many things that when you look at it that you regret. I can't really like come up with one. But I do. I'm really sorry that we didn't get a sauna on, the biggest sea pool near Munkbron.
Okay.
But it's still, it's a possibility that it will still happen, but not at that place.
Yeah.
But it was other authorities that complained. So we'll see. But I think that, the water is a possibility that we can use even more with pontoons, with more like all year around sea pools. So I really hope that we can transform the cities in that way.
You have been so many years in politics, and we hear a lot that politics are dirty and so on. What is your reaction about this phrase, politic or politician are dirty?
I mean,
or
it's
a
both.
dirty game?
Of course it is. It's about power in the end. But I met so many engaged politicians locally that really, they have another job daytime, and then they go to all these meetings at night, and they engage and they meet citizens, and they do this because they're really like determined to change the society in a good way. And so they should really need respect. They don't get a lot of like paid, but they pay in a lot of like time off family and so on, but they do it. They're really like passionate about city development and bringing better cities to the citizens. But then, of course, it's also some colleagues that are more like it's about power. So of course they are focusing on how will I get to that position, and they try to crush people in their way of getting to power, and that's also part of it. I mean, sometimes you can see it also in business, but I think it's more perhaps dirty in politics. And then you need to focus on the positive thing and the people who gives you energy. Sometimes you need to be aware. You don't have to. You can't be naive. So you need like to have support, but to just you wouldn't survive if you had put so much effort in the negative things. But it's often like the politicians that wouldn't make it in business that are perhaps the worst in politics.
You mean like they fail in the business, so they move them.
They don't have any other options than just to stay.
How is it like the work-life balance for you? You mentioned in the beginning of the episode. Now we are almost in the end of the episode. Tell me more about like finding the work-life balance, especially for you.
Of course, it's impossible when you are a mayor. But I had help. I had a really supporting husband, and we had help with the cleaning. And I mean, I love RUT-avdraget. It's a possibility for working men and women to get help if you have children. When I tell my international colleagues about this, they can't believe it because they have to pay themselves, and it's very they end up really burning out if you wanted, or just say no to a career. But here you can actually, in Sweden, you can do both. We have a great also welfare system with good preschools. But I was trying to find, the weekends. I said no to some boards because often they were weekends, Saturdays and Fridays. So I really that was family time for me.
All in 100% family?
No, not, but really to focus on that and to have the balance. I need the nature. The older I get, the more I need to walk in the nature, to just have some quiet environment around me.
Yeah.
It's different. Like you're different when you were 20. Like
Of course,
you need different things.
It's a
And for
fact,
me,
like,
it's like to walk out and just to listen to the birds, or just going skiing or being outdoors. I really enjoy that.
How many hours, like being a mayor, like per day? How many hours of work?
Often I woke up at 6, and then I perhaps work before 9, and then I came home. It was often evenings, so 10.
Wow.
Sometimes later, but
You
10 in the day.
don't get headache?
Yes, I did. In the end, sometimes I did, and I had trouble sleeping, and of course, so sometimes you were really pushing it.
Yeah.
But someone said as well that, I mean, you have good periods when everything is like you feel you have everything is going your way. Your life is good. You're doing the reforms. You can see the results.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a struggle. It's conflicts, or it could be other things. And then you can feel it directly.
Yeah.
And then I think if you really enjoy what you're doing, it's passion, and you can get energized by that. But if you feel like it's too much of one thing, or you're trapped, or people just say no when you want to do something really bad, or then it's stress.
Yeah.
So you need that balance as well. Like really think about like what is giving you passion and energy, and try to do more of these. And of course you can't just do 100%.
No,
you need sometimes it's a conflict. You have
You're not so lucky.
You don't get your will every time. It's not that, but it's you have to also to listen to your body. And but I was really pushing it sometimes. I can say now.
So you, like, let's say after work you went home with your kids and so on, doing your hobbies. Did you close your phone and laptop and so on, and focusing on only people around you, or how was it?
Yeah, it was most of my social life that was affected. Okay. So I was trying to be with the kids, and I mean, of course, if it was a crisis or a attack, or I needed the phone, but I was not looking at it all the time. I know some people like they can't let go.
Exactly, yeah.
And I have like now when I remember I'm leading meeting and everyone is looking at their phone, like doing Facebook status, like, so they're like discipline. Come on. Now I was really trying to. I just both loved because it was a tool, but I hated the phone as well.
I know.
So it was like, no, I want to be with the children now, and we did a lot of activities. For me, that gave me energy. I wasn't tired. Because I was doing other things. Yeah, but I didn't have dinners with friends. I couldn't, go out for lunch, or you have to sacrifice something.
Of course, yeah.
I think so. I mean, one day perhaps, with this, I think we should, working life is transforming.
Yeah.
Totally.
You believe in the 4 days working?
I do.
You
Can
do?
I say that as a moderate? I do. I think that the new way of working, not for everyone, of course, but the new way of working, it's like the most important thing is what you deliver. And I'm certain that you can deliver more efficiently in the same amount, but a shorter amount of time, and then get more time off doing the things that perhaps brings new ideas and contribute to your life. I think everything is going to be changing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I ask my guest like a question about what will you choose to be if you are not a human? You can choose to be anything.
I never got that question before, but that is a good one. I would like to be a quant computer.
Quant computer?
Yes.
Because of?
Because I think that's what some of the most important solutions to health problems, medicines, with the artificial intelligence industry, manufacturing. I think artificial intelligence, everything is going to be in the quantum computing. So I would like to be that kind of computer that finds the solutions for the global warming, or this is the thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
Or health, cancer. It could be so many other
very needed
problems. Yeah.
So what is the next step for you, Anna?
So I'm in the middle of like finding myself thinking of that. I took some time
Yeah.
because I wanted that, because I've seen like this, I've done this now for half my life, and I want to do something else for the rest of half. If hopefully I will be healthy and
Let's
live,
hope
I
for
don't,
that.
yeah. But if I can, I would like to do something else with impact. And I've been so inspired by the entrepreneurs, the researchers, the people that really working with doing impact from another side.
Okay.
I would like to be a part of it. I just felt that.
Which area? Like, is it the
SDGs or ESG? I feel more strongly that I can answer that now because it's sustainability, both social but also environmentally.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
it's that kind of area.
This is
I would
so
like
interesting.
to focus.
Yeah. So now you're doing like your research. Who are the actors? Who is active doing what, and so on, right?
Yeah, and meeting some of
potential like.
Exactly.
Cool. I'm
like
happy
it could
for
be
you.
companies, it could be boards, but I'm just finding my way of like, should I do something full time? Should I do something like I'm more free? One question I had was, should I stay in Stockholm or go internationally, or can I collaborate internationally? But I love Stockholm so much, so it would be difficult to leave. I think we'll see.
Yeah. No, I'm very happy for you. Like you're doing now, and will do something you're passionate about.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So now we are in the final section of this episode, and first question is about you giving a message to yourself. So imagine you have a mirror and you're looking at yourself.
Stay true to yourself and stay passionate and curious. I think curious, that's like one of the biggest things of importance to me. Yeah.
And 3 takeaway messages to our listeners.
Step out of your comfort zone. I know that some researchers now recently talked about, the bubble jumping. It's very important for you as a person or a city planner or politicians or whatever you work with, that you change perspective.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just, even though it's not intended, you tend to meet the same kind of people with the same kind of, especially now with Twitter, social media and other things. So I think it's very important that you try to bubble jump, to meet other groups, try different things just to develop and get new perspective. I think that lifelong learning is crucial. You can do that in different things. You can have a webinar once a week, or you can take a course about artificial intelligence at one of the universities. Or but just to stay like curious and also to take responsibility. Ask your employer or yourself, like, how can I invest in my to reskill or upskill? And another is always also to put the citizens at the center in your work. If you work with cities, just don't communicate the reform or communicate what is the public value that you want to create and bring that story to the citizens. Then I think that you will be successful.
Amazing. And the last question in this episode is about you asking it to us. So what is your question to me and to our listeners?
I think one thing that many cities struggles with, as well as Stockholm, is that how can we build a city that is both mixed use and at the same time mixed income groups where they can meet. Or mixed income neighborhoods. And that is a challenge. I think that
it's a huge challenge.
Talking about the 15-minute cities as well. I would like to see smarter solutions on that and a bigger discussion.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Anna. I'm really happy and inspired by talking to you, and hopefully we will follow up your journey and talk more.
The same. Thank you for being engaged in these all very interesting and important topics. And once again, thank you for meeting you in person.
Thank you, Anna.